Well, I screen them mainly because I don't want to create an unsafe space for the others. That's the only reason why I screen them. But screening them doesn't mean if you don't qualify, then I chuck you out. If you don't qualify, then I do a one-on-one support instead of you being on the with the other kids until you are safe. Because most of the parents, they trust me and the program because they know that their kids are going to be safe with me.
What kind of parents do you deal with? Like, let's just throw it on the table, you know. Most of the parents, is it black parents, white parents, and is it middle-aged? Like, I just need to get a broader picture.
I mainly deal with black parents. I would say you're middle-aged, so between 25 and 45. And it is mainly single parents, that's the other thing. Because most of the time, the minute they are married or the dad is involved, then the dad seems to like, we are wasting money. I mean, $750 for 4 hours, you know, this is not gonna work. But most of the moms who are single would actually say, I feel like my daughter needs this, I feel like my son needs this, and then they would actually go. But I would really love to broaden the aspect, because for me, or the avenue, for me, it's more about expanding them and self-actualization. And I feel like if you're going to only be dealing with Botswana or black people, then you don't get exposed to different, because again, they say when you travel, you actually get to be more, and I mean, I'm a traveler, so I think that's, and I've seen it with my kids as well, because they travel all those, they attend all those picnics, and then we've also traveled as a family. We make it an intention to travel at least twice a year, you know, with them. And I've seen how open-minded they've become. Just this morning I was at my 7-year-old, just, you know, the example that she was making, it was a different level of emotional intelligence. I don't think I was even there until today, you know, where she was like saying to my mom, I don't appreciate that you only said sorry after you've said that those other mean things, you know. So I feel like they tend to be in such a, and unfortunately, I mean, our parents are not used to this. They feel like killing out, or they feel like, you know, but for
you
me,
don't talk back at the mom,
you know, and I love that she's learned not to raise her voice as well. She was very emotional, because she was even teary, but she managed to hold her tears and still be able to say what she needed to say and still cry. Because for me, you're not going to say a child must not cry. Tears are part of releasing. We are element as people. We are water, we are air, we are fire, and we are earth. So if you're not going to burp, if you're not going to fart, if you're not going to cry, then how are you releasing? You know? Yeah. So I use that. And I think some of the things that I didn't answer in terms of the Alberton picnic, what goes on. So the Alberton picnic, we've chosen self-care. The reason why we chose self-care, touch has been proven to be one of the most effective ways to regulate our nervous system. Energetically, we are dysregulated.
You mean like, as in like touched? What?
Yeah, touch.
Touching.
I mean, the minute a child cries,
you touch them.
You know, but
feel
obviously, when you are now too big for your mom's lap, you need other means of touch. And that's why we do massage. And I do weekly massages because I need my nervous system regulated. I think, I'm not sure if it was you, but one of the colleagues in JST actually asked me, Sister Nare, do you ever get angry? And it's because I regulate my
I think it was me.
I think it was you. You know, because I regulate my nervous system. I use touch to feel safe. Once somebody touches you in a way that, unfortunately, most of us think we don't like touch because our uncles have touched us inappropriately and we thought touching is not nice for me. But if you've never been traumatized, of which I don't think there's anyone who's never been traumatized, but those who are healing like us, you would actually know that touch is one of the ways that you feel calm, you release all those happy hormones. That's why after a massage, you'll actually be able to sleep because then you feel safe. You know, so we use that to make sure that we regulate them, because most of them comes from.
But you know, that's a very good program that you are running, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, obviously, there's going to be few who are exposed to this, and they're going to go out there and interact with people who are not exposed to such programs. Do you think these people are ready for that kind of environment, because they're going to be a minority into a huge society that will find it really difficult with regard to their behavior, because it's a behavior in any way, no matter how you put it. But this one, it's more like good for yourself in terms of interacting with the outer world. Do you think maybe they will be ready for such an environment or a society? I don't know if maybe you try to understand where I'm trying to get with this.
Yeah. So what comes to mind are three things, and most of them sounds wishy-washy, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Number one, I believe in energy. So I feel like the energy they emit out there will determine the type of people they're gonna attract. So somehow I'm hoping that their energy and vibration will somehow protect them until they are in a space where they are ready to go out. But we're also working on emotional agility with them. Like I'm saying, my mom always triggers my daughter, but I cannot chase my mom away or take my daughter away. So somehow she like today said to me, the program that I'm running, it's actually doing well for her because she was able to reach that point. There were so many times when she would cry or she would, they would, but today, and it's those moments that I'm always waiting for. I'm not expecting miracles. And one thing about the program is I allow mistakes. We learn through mistakes. So they're gonna go out there, gonna go and get triggered, they're gonna come back, we review, okay, what was the trigger? How was it a trigger? Because we always work with the root cause. And then the third one is also now, I also think the 1,000 monkey, is it the 100 monkey effect or the 1,000 monkey effect? But the monkey effect, where there was a study done on 100 monkeys, I think it's 100 monkey. And then they were exposed to a certain behavior. Now, once it reached the 100th one, those that were around them started actually doing the same thing that the 100 monkeys were doing. So they call it a tilting what? A tilting space or something like that. So
I know you know this thing.
So once it gets to 100, the scale tilts. So the behavior now starts affecting. We start vibrating at that level in a way. I think it was the monkey that never lacked the apples or some fruit, and then it always had scent. And then they didn't like the fruit because it had scent. And then one monkey decided to put it in water. And then the other one started doing it. By the time it got to the 100th monkey, now every monkey started also now doing that. Because also we are epigenetically connected as well. So what I do, somehow my daughters are going to be able to do it because we are connected. So that's also what I'm working on. I'm thinking of this as a long-term legacy. I'm not naive to think 10 years from now we would now be in a different world. But I'm hoping my great-grandson would be able to at least live in a way that, in an environment that is not so triggering and so traumatizing, because really we've been through a lot.
Do they understand what you're doing, and are they really coming for it? Okay, no, let us become part of this and let us bring our children on board, or they are skeptical because they will always be skeptical?
I get those that are skeptical, but I also get those that they really get it. And maybe because most of the time we would go one-on-one and check the real issues that affects you. I mean, if I say generally, sometimes you feel like, nah, but as soon as I'm like, you tell me something and I'm able to relate and I'm able to show you the pattern of trauma, then you actually say, oh, wow, I see this and I've seen it in my father, I've seen it in my aunt, and now I'm even seeing it in my daughter, and it stops with me making sure that at least for my daughter it becomes different. But I'm going to be honest, most of the parents that I get are also into some type of inner work. You know, I don't get somebody who's not doing any inner work and feeling like my work makes sense. They will say, but I've got a medical aid. Why wouldn't I go to a psychologist? Why should I come to you? You know, so I mean, I also don't believe in one size fits all. And I always say, in as much as I'm ambitious, I don't want everyone. You know, I want those specific few. And I mean, if I have my 2 daughters and they learn self-actualization, when they decide to have 2 kids both, or maybe 3 each, then it's 6 kids who are now, you know, adapting this. And then they have their own, you know, and by the time I reach 6th generation.
You want to change the world, eh?
You know, maybe that's the plan, but one generation at a time. You know, so I'm not going to shame anyone who doesn't feel like my work resonates with them. You know, it's where they are at the time. And also, like I said, when we started, I believe in divine timing. You know, if it's not for you, I mean, there are a lot of programs that also comes to me, and I was like, not now. You know, and then 5 years later, I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me try that. And then I tried it. So
that's very interesting. But you know, going back, I don't recall. I wanted to check, Jorge, how did you fall in love with what you are doing now? Maybe I missed it, but I just want to get it because I don't recall you, you know, alluding to that. Or, nah, this is what happened, and this is how I fell in love with what I'm doing, and this is how the idea came about.
It's going to be weird, and I think the people who are listening will be able to believe this because it's my truth. Yeah, so this whole journey started in 2016 when I had my firstborn, my daughter. I started having this love for doing things differently. You know, I remember I quit my job.
Were you always a different child, or is it something that just came?
I was a neglected child because they felt like I was too much. You know, I was never understood as a child. And it makes sense when I looked at my human design chart, because I am here as a defiant. So I am here to defy the system. That's why even the work I do, I didn't even give my card, because it's within my human design chart. But as a child, I grew up feeling unseen, unheard, and unfortunately I was one of those who would actually want to say but, and then you know the buts were not. Yeah. But luckily because I would now start isolating myself because I was like, oh, I need to stay away from being.
You must get to the point whereby you started isolating yourself, and to a point whereby you're like, no man, I need to turn things around, because I think it's very important for someone who's watching us, so that maybe if they find themselves in a situation like that, they are able maybe to break free from the situation that they find similar to yours.
So growing up, I thought I was Matilda. I don't know if you know Matilda.
Matilda.
It's this girl with superpowers and magic, and she could make things move. Yes. I
only know Cinderella.
So I always thought I had superpowers. And I guess to some extent I had, because whenever my aunt will scold at me, because for me the abuse I went through was mostly verbal. So whenever
But I think all of us go through verbal abuse.
Yeah, but I guess it depends. You know, there are times where you would even get to being stripped of your identity, you know. So whenever she did that, I would go into my own space. So I would mute her. And, you know, I never knew how I would do that, but it would feel like I would freeze time. I would just mute her, go into my own world, do something. Or sometimes I would imagine me doing things on her and just laughing, and it would irritate her. And that's actually what I'm even seeing, and how I'm able to connect with the genies now. Because they're in their magical world, they're in their innocence world. And we all, to be honest, we all have magical powers. It's just that whenever you said to somebody, I'm seeing Gogo there, then or something, you know, they'll always make you not go through anything that you saw. And if everyone says you can't see something, then you end up believing that you don't see it. But anyway, fast forward to 2016, I then decided I want to be a different mom. You know, I appreciate how I was raised, but I feel like there could be something different. And then that's when I quit my job. I had no plans, no pension fund.
So it happens.
nothing.
You know, these things really do happen, and I just quit my job.
I just quit my job and said I want to be a full-time mom. And then I moved from Kletop to the village, Komaretsane, and I had no plans. I don't want to lie, I had no plans. And that's when now my supervisor then said, you are crazy. You can't just sit there and not do
Please
anything.
come and blah, blah.
Please come and teach. And then I taught at the university, and I taught psych. And me teaching students psych, that's when now I was like, but I feel like...
By the way, you hold a master's degree because I know at universities you just have to hold a master's to...
Actually, I'm a PhD dropout.
No, you need to go back, eh? You need to go back. You need to go back.
Still for another day.
Oh, yeah, okay. But you need to go back.
I definitely understand because of, like, I'm busy with my master's now.
Now you get it. Yeah. So then I became very intentional about how I was parenting. I started with listening to opera and meditating, not opera the person, the music. Is it called opera?
Opera music.
Yes. And meditation music while I was pregnant to make sure that she's calm. I made sure that whoever wanted to annoy me, I would not let that energy. I would even imagine a bubble of gold, just surrounding me and my daughter, so that energy, Kuma Satan, So I was very intentional about how I raised
you
them.
block the noise.
I blocked the noise. I made sure that, especially the first year, I listened to a lot of podcasts and I got reassurance that you cannot overlove your child. And you cannot spoil your child with love. So I made sure that Kamukuka, you know how our parents don't want us to cook, but especially when you're going back to work, because now Baba Saranle and now they're going to be struggling. And I made sure that mine, whenever she said, I go. I made sure that I breastfeeded for 2 years. And 6 months was exclusive because it meant that we bonded. I made sure that 3 months of maternity.
2 years breastfeeding. I thought it was 6 months.
This other one is 3 years. We just stopped last month. So I'm actually still lactating as we speak with my 3-year-old because we just stopped.
Okay.
And if she decides she wants, actually we can continue.
But in fact, there's a story that says the companies that manufactures this milk has an intention to discourage mothers from breastfeeding. And that's the cause of mothers losing the ability to produce milk. Not necessarily because they don't want to. It's because of if you breastfeed and you're feeding with this milk, you somehow lose the ability to produce the amount that is enough to satisfy your child. Then as time goes on, it stops by itself. And then it's not like they want to. Sometimes even the kids gets accustomed to the artificial milk more than your
and it's also business also.
So but the companies, they are benefiting. In fact, we're losing and the money. So in fact, breastfeeding is the healthiest option.
I thought maybe it was enough for 6 months, so you can breastfeed
up to 10 years.
10 years?
I'm telling you.
Not 10 years.
But it's the supply and demand. If the child, and I'm telling you, they would always want. If you don't, because what we usually do, towards 2 years, we start telling them, kekaka. But if we don't, to them, this is nourishing. And if you tested breast milk, it's very nice. It's so sweet. Why would I not taste my own milk? Why would I feed my child something that I wouldn't drink?
Because during COVID-19, people must drink their own milk.
Exactly. And there's a lot of benefits towards breast milk that even those companies cannot produce. Number one, you get part of your brain into the milk and then it goes into the child. They can't reproduce that.
Interesting facts, eh?
I wanted to ask something. When I was reading the company profile and I hear you talking a lot about meditation the chakras, the breath work. You know, we don't know what is chakras and stuff like that. But you know, when I read, there was a word that you associate your company's name with. You say sofa, and then the sofa comes from Ayurveda.
Yes.
And then what is Ayurveda? I couldn't even pronounce that. What is that thing? Is it associated to the knowledge that comes with the package? Yeah, whatever that you are offering.
No, not really. So Ayurveda, it's like, how do I put it? I don't want to say it's like a language, but it's like a language, like a practice. So China and India, they use Ayurveda as a way of healing. Yes. So now in Ayurveda, inflammation, the one that they focus on would be inflammation. So they heal inflammation using different modalities.
You got it, bro.
No, but I want to explain it so that he understands it.
No, I'm asking him because I just want to check if he got it. But because it's too complex for me.
So it's a way of healing, if I may put it that way. Yeah. So with Ayurveda, that's where now you would actually use different ways of healing.
I
so
think
like we'll call it alternative medicine. I don't like the word alternative medicine because it means like Western medicine is always better. Yeah. But what I took out from the Ayurveda is that inflammation, to say you during inflammation process, the reason why you end up having hotness and that bump is because of those chemicals that gets produced from the body, and then they circle whatever chemical. So let's say it's a bee sting. If a bee stings you here, agate leaves that poison. So the chemical that gets produced would actually circle that bee sting poison so that it doesn't get to spread to the whole body. That's why now it ends up ever hot and then it swells, so that it's yamotombo, if I may put it that way. So what we do, the reason why, it's a symptom, yes, that shows that we are protecting you so that it doesn't go all the way down. So for me, so for me, I'm like, I want to protect this genie, you know, whatever trauma they're having, I want to enclose them so that it doesn't go to their kids and other people.
Also, it's a process that is used in this field. So now you use it there as a symbol that...
Yeah, so I use it as a metaphor to say, we are going to take your child's trauma and then we're going to make sure that we enclose it and release it before it spreads. Because remember, the minute a child is antisocial, a lot of people get hurt. The girlfriend gets hurt, the family gets hurt, the neighborhood gets hurt if we don't get it at an early age. Because it starts with behavioral issues and then it goes into antisocial and then psychopath. So we catch it there. Before it goes there, we wanna enclose it here. And most of the time, you have behavioral problems because you feel unseen, you feel unheard.
I guess it goes to that issue of them going out to the society that is not ready for them.
Yes.
I think you are answered.
Yeah, I am serious.
If it's answered, then it's not a problem, because I did not want to interject, because after the recording, let her finish. So, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to ask Hore, maybe you should come again so that you are able to explain to us further about some of the philosophies that you are facilitating.
I'm open to that.
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. It would be nice.
I'm open to that.
Yeah. I think we are done. I think.
How is
42 minutes.
And then the influence, like, then how is this culture of meditation? Where does it come from? Like, does it come from a certain philosophy? Because I know the Buddhist, the Hindu, and other practices. They have yoga, and then I've also so I was wondering, are you inspired by some of this beliefs and all of those things?
I'm inspired by most of them, but I have reached a point where I don't want to associate with any. Mainly because I don't want to feel like I end up being stereotyped. I don't want to label myself, So for me, I would always say I'm more spiritual than religious. So I don't subscribe to a religion, but I know that there's a source, and I believe in a source. And my source is not a white male with long beard sitting somewhere up there. My source is within. And I remember I was saying to a friend of mine that because my source is within, it means when I communicate with Kat, God is communicating with me through him. So whatever message I need to get at the time, I'm not going to get it somewhere miraculously coming down, But also because God is within me, I'm always going to have an inner standing. I no longer understand, I inner stand. Because understand means you're standing under. And if you actually go into the rabbit hole of how this whole understanding came from, you'll stop using the word understand.
Now I understand now.
Now you understand. And I think I didn't finish how the whole thing came up.
Oh, yeah.
Actually. So in 2020, I met, so the whole journey started with network marketing. I was recruited, I went to this network marketing. I liked it because it had traveling and it also had fitness. What this network marketing opened for me was luxury. So I was able to go to Dubai, I was able to be a frequent visitor in Sandton, so I got to meet really classy and fancy people. And
he asked about different practices. When you got that, did you also find out or these are some of the things that are happening, but different to what you are doing?
Yes, and that's why I would actually take this dialectic model of saying, if I like this and this, but then this doesn't work for me, then I choose this and create
your own puzzle.
And being a girl, also a Beetle was something I've never seen. The Range Rover I liked, but I never. But I go to Kipahame, sometimes even test drive it, because they taught us about vision boards. They taught us about writing your 5-year goal and your intentions. And I remember I wrote an intention about a tow rack. And then I even went and test drove that tow rack. Assistant director, but I meditated on that, and then I went. I didn't even want my payslip, So it started there. So I started believing that things are possible for me, because I was being introduced to a lot.
That's when you started shifting from 2016.
That's when I started shifting to saying, but it can be different. I'm not saying others are better than the other, but it can be different. And that's where I always say we are so obsessed with sameness, but we call ourselves a rainbow nation. How about we all do it differently, as long as we reach a stage which is our destination. I mean, whether you take a bus, I take a blue train, he takes a plane, if the destination is to get to Cape Town, we will arrive in Cape Town. Maybe you leave 2-3 days before, I leave 5 minutes before.
Leave 2 hours before.
But Oksala, we're gonna get there, So I met this wonderful lady called Mbanjwa. She's a money coach. And then I had
I think that's the episode that I watched yesterday.
Yes, she's been on 2 of my episodes. Actually,
but it was on her platform.
Oh yeah, I've also been a guest in her platform as well. Yeah. So we were in a coaching session, and then I guess somehow her way of coaching makes it easier for you to go deep and go into the subconscious. And then I remember, because she sent me the recording after for the coaching, when I listened to it, that's when I mentioned that I wanted to deal with, to work with kids. I love working with kids. And that's the reason why I enjoy working with mental health care users, because somehow they get into a child state. And then the crazy part is, I I was sitting, and then something said to me, and that's when I was starting to open my chakras, starting to believe the voices in my own head. I mean, for someone who works in psych, they say that it's a no. But I started trusting most of the voices in my head.
Maybe they will say you are schizophrenic.
Exactly, they put me on medication. So something said to me, take out your phone and go to notes. Then I took out my phone and then I went to notes. And then I started writing. Like when somebody's hijacking you, write. And then I typed, and then by the time I finished and put a comma, I had a full strategy of so far, including the podcast, which guest must I bring, what topics must we put in up until episode 10. So that's how actually, so it was a download.
So I think if maybe these kids, if they would have gone through a program like that, it would be easy for them to adapt into situations whereby they are faced with difficult situations that they just have to maneuver through those situations and stuff. So all the best, and I think we should have another time for us to talk about many other things, because it's a lot to talk about. It's a lot to talk about.
Epigenetic inheritance. Epigenetic inheritance.
Epigenetic, okay. Epigenetic inheritance.
Yeah. So what it basically means is we carry our generational traumas. Again, unfortunately, we were meant to venalize the ancestors because now we are praying ancestors and but actually what it just means is you are carrying your ancestors' genes and traumas and everything with you. For example, when my grandmother was pregnant with my mother had her eggs already in her womb. So it means I was there. And whatever my grandmother was going through, I was feeling energetically as well. Because we are energetic beings. So if whenever Shapa, my grandmother, I might actually go for partners Baba Betang, because it's like an energy that was passed down to
So
me.
you attract the
So that's actually epigenetic inheritance. And that's why we have to energetically converse with them to release them from the pain. Because sometimes we carry things that are not even ours. There are so many times when I have fears, but I can feel that this fear is not mine. I'm actually not scared of this, but there's this thing. And then usually that's when I would go into meditation.
what's that word again?
Epigenetic
Genetic
inheritance.
inheritance.
Now the facts find like you.
Yeah. Oh, fact finder.
Oh, you must be careful. You must be very careful.
I think.
I listen to your definition and then I come back here and then check the difference.
The danger media is it's owned by one people. So they would always feed us what they want us to hear. And most of the time it's fear mongering. I mean, check the news, for example. How many great things are happening just in Rustenburg? But most of the time, when they report on the news,
Rape,
I mean, your program must already be on the news to say, but this wonderful people are standing here. Now it doesn't happen because we always want to be feeding fear. I mean, really, there's a lot of good things happening.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 2 years. And it's not even on a mainstream media because how about such things? Unless in Mbanjwa.
I think I want to close it, but they are busy. But no, 10 minutes to go. But I think we've had enough. I think I've had enough.
Any questions?
Okay.
I hope it was hopeful.
Yeah, it was very
it was
helpful.
helpful.
Next time maybe we'll prepare better for you because of our sister. So I think we can plan what's the goal that we're trying to reach and the message that we want to tell.
I think
what you're saying is very useful. It can help a lot of people, even teachers. Maybe we can talk about the environment in schools because I used to work in schools and kids, a lot of kids are having this behavioral problems. So a lot of teachers can't deal with them and they don't have methods. And a lot of things that we were saying about suppressing kids and with methods that instills fear.
Actually, I wanted
something that maybe we can.
I wanted to take it
well.
to that level of question, but for now I thought it was early because I don't think, Hori, you had already planned that you want your program to also be used by the department. I just don't know.
Not because necessarily being used per se.
Yeah.
I'm just discussing.
Okay.
I give a little owner program.
Okay.
The more an idea, the better. Yeah. So the aim is not to like I said, I don't want to work with everyone. I want my people energetically. I really want. Like for me, if I can have 20 regular clients per month, my business will bloom. So imagine if I'm only working with 20. Just Northwest,
Okay.
And I've been thinking of approaching the goal of the private schools because I recommend them like
Yeah, but the managers said they are open, and they would really, because especially schools in the townships, those are problematic.
They need it more than
the schools.
As somebody who was working in co-department there, I was part of the school health programs, and this is what I've been trying to sell to them.
And they're not budging.
Yeah. In fact,
and it was gonna be free because they can persal.
And now it's so it's very we're not seeing now.
Exactly.
Well, there's not about that. When kids are saying certain things and they don't offend you and I say, you can't do that thing. And then they get offended. They expect you to get offended as well, and are offended by things you don't see that.
But coming from her place, you would understand, or this is how you channel a child who's in a situation like that, or okay, I can see, or this one, we need to teach them, or this is how you express yourself, things like that. Yeah.
And Mara, let's be honest, most of the time, the wounding kids are the parents or the caregiver, not necessarily Taban. Because somebody who can abare go ga go tlea o bo kwata be ke tshega o bona shocked so it's one person, same reaction, same
different reactions,
same stimuli. So if in aliena ne tshwantse go nne different but ke rona re nna different. So then we'll go into your childhood. What do you associate it with? I want and I was like,
Okay, yeah, I think we should close it now because now I closed it.
I thought we closed it.
I closed it 10 minutes ago and they were coming with a lot of questions. Okay.
About the subscription and all of those things.
Okay, no, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's fine.
Okay, I was about to subscribe.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not a script. It will come through as time goes by. And we
allow mistakes. I don't know how to